This is Andrew, first place winner of the September 2024 GameNation Edison League. And here's his deck.
Hey, so I am playing Amaryllis, Titanial Turbo, whatever they're calling it now. This is the profile. Start off with plants, 3 Titanial, 3 Amaryllis, 2 Lone Fire, 2 Dandy. Not very much to say there. People say you can maybe manage with 2 Amaryllis. I think you need 3. And I am on the bot line. I really like it. 1900 normal summon, and setting it and having them crash into a 2K is always fun. There's one more plant I'm running, but you'll see that a bit later. For lightsworns, I'm on the 1 Raikou, 2 Lila. I was doing 2 Raikou, 2 Lila for a bit, and I cut it down to 1 then Raikou. I think that this ratio works. Raikou can just sometimes be a little bit slow because it needs to get hit, get flipped, but still a good card, still worth having. And then Lila, obviously, the mill, hitting the back row is important. Additional millers, Card Trooper. I wasn't a fan of Card Trooper for a long time. I thought it was a bit of a liability. You summon it, you get the mills, but then your opponent's undoubtedly going to run over it next turn, and then you take a chunk of damage, which you kind of want to avoid when you have a 0 defense point monster, and your opponent more or less is always running over that. But I've come back around on it, because the mill is really nice, and if you can't protect it, then it just continues to gain advantage. 1 Necro, because it's amazing once it's in the grave, great to hit on mills. And then tuners, we have Plague, Debris Dragon, and the last plant, Nettles. I really like Nettles. I know it's a bit of a meme in the Amaryllis Discord where we see a plant. Do we need to start over?
No, you can okay. I'll cut it out.
Okay. I know it's a bit of a meme in the Amaryllis Discord where we'll see a monster that includes plant and we'll go after it, and then everyone will tell you it sucks, and then we'll start asking when Amaryllis is getting reprinted. But I really like Nettles. As a tuner, that's a plant, means that it's Lone Fire accessible, so there are turns where I will steal an opponent's monster, I want to get it off board, I have access to a Lone Fire, and it's better than going to Titanial sometimes because it moves the opponent's monster off the board. It is Amaryllis fodder when it gets into graveyard. And when it gets banished, then it's a DDR target if you again want to use it for a synchro play. And 1200 does make a difference. I was on Coffee Plant for a bit because I thought the 1 store might be more flexible, but the 2 not only hits better numbers because stealing a 4 or 6 means you can make a 6 or an 8, but the 1200 attack does make a difference. I have poked into monsters or poked into my opponent's life with 1200, and it's not huge, but it just exists and they have to deal with it. So that's all the monsters. Onto the spells, 3 trade-in. You're running 6 level 8 bricks. You need the trade-ins to get them out of your hand. I'm on the standard equip package, so 3 Hidden Armory, 1 Mark of the Rose, 1 DDR. Vote DDR for the QCR survey from Konami. We need this printed as a foil. But yeah, this is the standard package that people are playing for equips. I don't think that increasing either of these in getting rid of Armories is worth it. Armory is just so great. The one-ofs, 1 charge, 1 heavy, 1 MST, 1 brain control. And I'm only on 1 fertilizer. I know fertilizer is an amazing card, essentially a premature burial every turn. But I find that it can conflict with the deck a little bit sometimes. If you're deep into a game, it forces you to have banished plants for Amaryllis in a very awkward way because you want to maximize your DDR targets, you want to banish your high power stuff. But then if you're banking on getting fertilizers, you also have to keep those in graveyard. And if it shows up at the wrong time, it just doesn't really do anything. I know that it combos great with Hidden Armory. I know that you can do fun things with looping it with Trunade, but I just don't find that the second one really helps that much, so I'm only got it at 1. It kind of becomes the second one of almost like a Monster Reborn, and I mean it worked for me. So for the traps, 3 Wing Blast. It's the best discard trap for Amaryllis, I feel like. Because you're already destroying stuff with the Lila and the Raikou, you have the return to top of deck is really nice because it's a different kind of removal. Stardust doesn't stop it, sets your opponent back. There are some cards that you can't put a Gores back on top of deck. That's not as good, but I still think the variety is really important. 1 Mirror Force, 1 Torrential, 1 Solemn, 1 Scrap Iron, and then I am on 1 Magic Cylinder. I really like this. It stops an attack. It deals a chunk of damage to your opponent. It can be protecting your Amaryllis, or it can be protecting something that you don't want to get run over. And the way that I play Amaryllis, or I think it should be played, is it's very much, when people say Titanial Turbo, that's very true. You want to be getting out Titanial as soon as possible. You want to be punching your opponent with it dealing damage, and then cleaning up with Amaryllis. If you're trying to burn your opponent solely with Amaryllis, that's not really, I don't find that's the best way to play the deck. You want to be very aggressive and then create the inevitability when there are 2 or 3 Amaryllis burns away, and Magic Silk can just help that. If you're reversing a Caius attack on them, or even reversing like an Alias or a Shura, it's just another chunk of damage that they've taken, and that gets you closer to the inevitability in the end game. So that's the main deck. Extra deck. So we have Armory Arm, Cataster, Android, Goyo, Brio, Iron Chain because I'm playing the Debris Dragon, Tempest Magician, Armor Master. You're going to see that I have the Gale on the side, so I can make this when I side it in, or if I happen to steal a Gale that's been left on field. Black Rose, Ancient Fairy, Stardust, Red Dragon, Dark End, Thought Ruler, and then the last one is Gothams. This is a bit of a funny one because you don't have the Earths to make it in the deck, but you can steal an opponent's Machina Force, and with Plague Spreader or with Nettles, you can turn it into Gothams. You've removed it without having to destroy it by battle, and you can hand rip your opponent. 31 is pretty big. It's probably the 3rd best anti-machine tech. I don't necessarily feel like machine is that bad a matchup, but I do like what it does and how it deals with it without having to sacrifice your Titanial every time you want to deal with a Fortress. For the side deck, 2 Cyber Dragons, 1 Fortress. So Fortress only comes in when there's a matchup machines obviously, and then a matchup where I feel like there's going to be more machines or they've sided Cyber Dragon against me. So if it's coming in against something if it's coming in against non-machines, I'm probably taking up the Gothams for it. If it's coming in against machines, usually it's Armor Master because I'm not likely to use that against them. So it's a side deck now. And then Cactus Bouncer, another fun tech card. I like this. It is a Vanities if there is another plant on the field, so not just your field. So if your opponent has spare fluff tokens on field from their Drill Warrior, this prevents Drill Warrior coming back. Since Amaryllis also reborns itself in the end phase, you can do all your plays, get this out, and then bring out Amaryllis, and then your opponent is pseudo-locked. And they can probably solve it. Amaryllis' 0 defense means that they can probably just run over Amaryllis and break the lock, but it does force them to not do that in main phase 1 and forces them to play a bit more awkwardly. And if you get this into Taniel on field, it can be really powerful because now you have a Vanities and 2800 attack one monster. It's almost like having your own Christia. Spells, Lightning Vortex, and Mind Control. I know that now some people are trying to increase the number of Lightning Vortexes. I haven't had a chance to try that out. Seems interesting. I do agree that Lightning Vortex is a great card. The mass removal is great. I haven't tried it, but it's something to consider. And traps, 2 bottomless. These come in a lot just because they hit a lot of things. 2 Dust Tornado. I'm not playing Decree. I like Dust Tornado better. I like the ability to hit. If I'm in the mirror match, I like the ability to hit the equip spells. If I'm playing Black Wings, I like the ability to hit the whirlwinds. And I need my traps sometimes, especially against things like Vanity's Fiend or Christia, where I can't special summon out my big monsters like Titanium, so I don't want to turn off my own traps accidentally. 1 Karma Cut, another discard spell. I feel like this could also be increased, because whenever it shows up, it's really nice. It's either stopping their graveyard shenanigans or it's removing a big monster I don't want to deal with. So I could see that increasing in the future. And then 1 Skill Drain, 1 Transmigration. This used to be 2 DD Crows, and I was talking with my friend, and I said, man, I wish I could find 1 more space in the extra deck. And he said, why don't you just play Transmigration? It's 2 DD Crows. I was like, you know what? You're kind of right. And so far it's worked out pretty well. I do miss the availability of the hand trap just always being on. You don't have to set it. You don't have to worry about getting destroyed. But for the most part, I find it works. And then 1 Threatening Roar. And that's the deck.
Why Threatening Roar? What's it for?
I think it's really good when you're playing against either Dad or JD. Sometimes I will take out the Mirror Force even for Threatening Roar just because it's chainable, so it buys me the turn and then it allows me to come back on them. Because if you're too reliant on battle traps, then if your opponent summons the Dad, or if they summon the JD, you can just wipe the field. They can get rid of the back row before they attack. It's useless. That's kind of also why I'm on Bottomless instead of Dimension Prison, because if you make it too attack focused, then you risk your opponent just destroying it before they get in for the attack. So I like the chainability.
Yeah, I find like chainability nowadays is very strong.
Oh yeah, that's why Wing Blast is also so great. Even though the Wing Blast may not stay games 2 and 3, like game 1 having the chainability, being able to figure out what your opponent's up to and then just using them if they try to stop them. It's really great.
Alrighty, so Mr. Andrew, congratulations.
Thank you.
You're getting a lot of prizing here, and hope to see you for next month for the league. Hope to see you next month for the league.
We'll try.
Alrighty. Bye, guys.